Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be covering Chapter 3. Specifically, I am going to cover the EFE and CPM matrices. These are in your book and you'll be required to do them for your homework and for your threaded discussion. So I'm going to go over them up on the chalkboard behind me. If you can't read what I'm writing on the chalkboard, don't worry about it. I'm going to embed the Excel file or PowerPoint file or some sort of file into the video so you'll be able to see exactly what I do. And I'm going to use the same numbers up on the chalkboard that I'll embed in the video. So you'll be able to download that or pause the video at that point and you'll have no problem reading it, just in case you can't read my writing. I'm going to go through exactly how these matrices are done, and hopefully you'll have no problems doing it on your own. And if you do, please contact me. It's real important. If you find yourself spending a lot of time on these, you're probably doing it wrong. They're not too difficult, and if you get, sometimes students make them a little bit more difficult than they are. And so if it takes you any longer than it's taking me, please don't hesitate to give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'll help you work through it. All right, we're going to start off with the EFE analysis. All right, before I go any further, please open your books to the section that covers the EFE, and that way you'll be seeing what I'm doing and you'll understand where I'm going with this. In the far left column, we have opportunities and threats, and you probably recognize those from traditional SWOT analyses. This is the O and T of a SWOT. So we start with opportunities and threats. And you have to pick your company. I believe for your homework assignment you're doing McDonald's, if I remember correctly. I'm going to pick a different one. I'm going to pick Ford. So we're going to do an EFE for Ford Motor Company. So first we need to come up with opportunities, then we'll come up with threats. The thing with the opportunities and threats, we're looking for about 5 minimum of each. These are the two most difficult categories. When we go to strengths and weaknesses, which we'll do next week when we do the IFE analysis, the strengths and weaknesses, it's easy to come up with a list of 10 for each. Opportunities and threats are a little tougher, so I want you to stretch and try and come up with at least 5. So for opportunities for Ford, we're going to start with fuel economy. I'm going to abbreviate a little here. Like I said, all this will be available. I'll have this on another slide embedded. Low emissions is another opportunity. If they can come up with a car that's gets great fuel economy, that's a good thing. That's an opportunity. A car with low emissions is a good opportunity. Another opportunity is there's weak domestic competition. Okay. GM is very weak right now. They're being subsidized by the government. Dodge is very weak and being subsidized by the government. Has been recently bought out. So they can definitely take advantage of that situation. Next, low interest rates. This is a great opportunity. With interest rates this low, they can finance cars easier, which means they can sell them easier. Finally, alternative fuel. Whether this be hydrogen, electric, ethanol, milk, seawater, grass, dirt, whatever it might be, any type of alternative fuel is great, and you can see where a lot of these are related, and that's okay. Threats. Big threat is always the competitors. Now, if you get desperate and you don't have enough threats, you can start naming them by name. Put them by name. Like you put GM, Nissan, Toyota, and so forth. We're not going to do that here. Next, fuel price. Okay, that's a big threat, the increasing fuel prices. Emission standards. And one day they are going to make chalkboards for tall people. Emission standards. Finally, the economy is also a threat. Poor economy means poor auto sales, so that's obviously a threat. And inflation is the last one. Inflation is always a big threat, because with inflation comes increased prices of fuel, food, everything, and you have less money to spend on a new car. Right, so we've got 5 of each. We could have done 8 of each. We chose 5. We put a line here to divide what we're going to do next. The next column is weight. Okay. We are going to weight each item based on its level of importance. We're going to weight all of the weights for all 10 items have to equal 1.0. 1.0. So we know where we're headed. And now we have to divide that 1.0 over these 10 items. Of course, you could just put 0.1 for everything since we have 10, but we want to do it right and weight how important each one of these things is. And so, so for fuel economy, I'm going to give that about a 0.15. It's important, but it's not, it's an ugly 5. Let's do it so we can read it. Okay. Low emissions. Let's give that one a 0.1. I like to use multiples of 5, or either 0.05, 0.15, 0.25, 0.1, 0.2. Makes it a little easier to come together. You don't need to do that, though. You can go 0.0325, and as long as it all equals 1, it doesn't matter. Weak domestic competition, that's a 0.1. Low interest rates, that's a 0.05. Alternative fuel, put 0.05 there. Competitors, let's put 0.2. That's always the most important, because if you don't address this, everything else is moot. They're just going to beat you and run you out of business. Fuel prices, let's go 0.15. That is a huge threat. That's a big deal, so that's a higher number. Emission standards, let's go 0.05. They always find a way around those. Economy, 0.05. It's important, but there's always ups and downs. Inflation, 0.1. And if you total all those up, they come to 1.0. Now, one thing that you realize I kind of did that a little bit fast. Well, one, I'd done it ahead of time and written it down so I didn't stumble over it too much and could keep the video going. But also, it's not absolutely vitally important you get it right, because the bottom line is we just don't know what the real percentages is. This is your opinion. Okay? Your opinion counts. This is all your opinion, and it's going to work out in the end. So I want to stress that I didn't pull these numbers from anywhere. I don't have a source. I didn't do research. You may need to do a little research if you don't know your company at all, but even from the case, you could probably pull enough to make these calls and to make these decisions. Once again, it's your opinion as to what the opportunities and threats are, and it's your opinion as to how to weight them. And it's also going to be your opinion as to how to rate them. All right, the rating is the next column. The rating is a score from 1 to 4. Not 0 to 4, 1 to 4. And you're going to rate based on how well the company, Ford, is responding to each opportunity and threat. Okay? So how the quality of the response of the company to this opportunity and this threat is how you're going to rate it. Don't pay attention to the weight when you're doing the rating. So we're going to give them, how is Ford responding to the need for a better fuel economy? We're going to give them a 2. Their cars don't get real good mileage right now. Not what they're going to do, what you think they might do, what they're doing now. Low emissions, we'll give them a 3. They're working on that. Once again, these are my opinions. You may disagree with me, and if you did Ford, you'd probably have different numbers, and that's okay. Put the numbers that you think are right. Weak domestic competition, we're going to give them a 4. They're jumping all over this. Remember, Ford is the only solvent American car company. The others failed and were bailed out by the government. So they're definitely taking advantage of this. And they've been really profiting ever since the government took over the other two or bailed out the other two, because the consumers are flocking to them for that very reason in many cases. And also for the reasons they were successful ahead of time, and many people believe they make a slightly better product. Once again, you may not agree or disagree, but they're successful, so we'll give them a 4. Low interest rates. They're taking advantage. They have incredible programs right now. I'm not advertising for Ford, by the way. This is just something we can all understand. Alternative fuel, they're not doing much there, or haven't done much yet, so we'll give them a 2. For competitors, we're going to give them a 4 of how they're addressing their competition. They're beating their competition very well right now. Fuel prices. This is a big threat. How are they responding? Not so well so far. Give them a 2. Emission standards. Emission standards are going down, and Ford is struggling with that, so we'll give them a 2 there. Economy. How are they addressing our current economic situation. They're actually doing very well because they're still making money despite the bad economy. So we'll give them a 4. And inflation, we're starting to creep into inflation right now. How are they handling it? Their sales are still good, so they're doing pretty well. 4. Well, next column, weighted score. Weighted score. So we're going to multiply column A times column B. Okay, so we got 0.3, 0.3, 0.4, 0.2, 0.1, 0.8, 0.3, 0.1, 0.2,